Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. And in today's video, we're going to be continuing Naruto Polaris Shippuden, What If Hanabi Hyuga Was Born First, Part 19. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and you like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. As we go into the final parts of yet another Naruto story, there is one thing I have been seeing from a lot of you guys in the comment section as of late, and that's been asking for the Boruto edition for a lot of the Naruto stories that we have on the channel. Now, so far, the only series that has gone into the Boruto era has been the Naruto Yokai series, What If Sasuke Uchiha Was a Girl? And that one's been with relative success. But I know that a lot of you have been wondering, will the Naruto Polaris series go into Boruto? Or will the Naruto Tale of Two Sages go into Boruto? Or even the Naruto Green Lantern? And even some old ones like Naruto Doctor Strange. Now, I do have ideas for what I can do with them going into the Boruto era. Especially with the manga and anime going as far as they have. But I'm going to leave it for you guys in the comment section, and I'm going to put up a poll in the near future so that we can decide what series go into Boruto and what don't. In a perfect world, I would like to cover the Boruto series in all of my Naruto What Ifs, but I know that for some, they'll just be better than others, and there are some series that I just might want to end at a certain point, but that'll just be where we see going from here or there. This series is one that I do want to continue into the Boruto era, although some changes will definitely need to be made, and we'll just have to wait and see as time goes on. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So as always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Eventually, Naruto would arrive to Turo Island, along with his newfound family in Karin Uzumaki. The group being escorted for Naruto's own safety as the Fourth Great Ninja War was getting underway. Once they arrived to the island, Naruto would, just as in canon, seek out Killer Bee, the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki, as he was rumored to be a Jinchuriki who had a perfect relationship with the beast inside of him, and as a result was able to control his power, Naruto hoping he could do the same with the Nine-Tails. However, that wouldn't be the only reason why he was here, as Naruto had specifically brought Karin along in order to learn some of the Uzumaki clan techniques. Unfortunately, Karin didn't know many of them, as she were young when she lost her mother, and she only had a few techniques of her own. She would comment that she had heard stories of the Uzumaki clan from their village in the land of whirlpools, commenting that she had always wondered if there were more to the Uzumaki clan there, and that even though she had never been able to go, she'd always wanted to. Naruto would promise that when all this was over, and when they had some free time, maybe they could make a journey over there to learn more about themselves and about where they came from. Karin would appreciate this, now having another family member in the world, someone that she could be close to as well. And together they could hopefully discover more about their lineage and about just where they descended from. Of course, there was only one thing that she could teach Naruto that would have been of any real value, and that would be the Adamite Uzumaki chains. Special chains made out of chakra that were capable of binding, holding, and sealing powerful beings and individuals. Although Karin would admit that her chains weren't nearly as strong or as perfect, as she had learned from her time with Orochimaru, who commented that her chains were only half of what a true Uzumaki could be capable of making. However, they were still quite powerful even for being something that was incomplete. But the main focus was Naruto. Karin theorized that if Naruto were a child who were capable of holding the Nine Tails itself, then it meant he only came from an Uzumaki that had powerful lineage and descent. Even though it was just a theory, she believed that Naruto's parent, in this case his mother, would have to be capable of using the chains herself. Of course, Naruto didn't know anything about his mother, something that would be rectified soon enough. In the meantime of his training with the chakra chains, Naruto would also train with Killer Bee in an attempt to learn and harness the power within him. Unlike in the original timeline, Naruto would be fully aware that the war was being fought, unlike it being in the original story where it was hidden from him. Naruto had to hold the patience and the virtue to not fight against his urges and to not try to join into the war. As a result, Naruto would only throw himself into his training to control the Nine Tails, similar to how it was in canon, resulting in him going through the waterfall of truth and accepting his own inner darkness. Once he was able to succeed in that, he would then find himself taken to a secluded area, a place where Killer Bee had once learned to control the power of the Eight Tails, and now Naruto would do the same with the Nine Tails. As both Yamato and Killer Bee watched over his training, Karin watching over as well, to try to assist in any way that she could, Naruto's body would start to be taken over by the nine-tailed fox in the midst of his meditation, as Naruto would find himself deep within the astral plane of his own mind, where he would find himself engaged one-on-one with the nine-tailed fox. Fighting it would prove to be easier said than done, as Naruto would unsheath his sword, which had surprisingly come with him even in the astral plane. Using a wind slice jutsu, he would send a cutting slice of wind towards the Nine Tails, knocking it back and doing some damage as his clones would surround it, trying his best to fight back against the fox and its influence of hatred. However, all the same, Naruto would still find himself nearly being consumed, if not for the aid of a certain someone, that being none other than his own mother, Kushina Uzumaki. Just like with Minato, Kushina's soul would have a piece of it sealed away within the 8 trigram seal on Naruto, so that when it came time and Naruto was trying to learn how to use the Nine Tails chakra, his mother would be there to assist him somewhat. Just like in the original, Naruto would meet his mother and they would still have an emotional reunion. However, now Naruto would have much more that he wanted to learn. You might think that the changes in Naruto's life were small, but they actually built up more and more. This version of Naruto, in many ways of speaking, is much like his original self, but also different. This version of Naruto had sense beaten into him at a young age, thanks to Hanabi. It didn't mean that he wasn't his fun-loving and carefree self from time to time, but it also meant that Naruto had a bit more intellect. It meant that he was capable of critical thinking and of asking some key questions. So not only did he use this time to reconnect with his mother, but he also used this time to ask about the Uzumaki clan, to ask about her, and to ask about the chakra chain technique. Kushina was surprised that Naruto had actually tried to go about learning it. And as Kushina was able to see through Naruto's memories, she was able to see this Karin Uzumaki, and she was actually happy that Naruto had actually found another. Of course, Naruto had only found her recently, and to be honest, it wasn't under the best of circumstances. But still, in a way, it was comforting to know that there was family, to know that he had someone. Not only would Kushina help Naruto in learning to tame the Nine-Tailed Fox's power, to fight away and gain some of its chakra for himself, but she would also walk Naruto through the steps of learning how to use the Uzumaki chakra chains. As a result, Naruto would manage to manifest the chains of his own. However, given his unique circumstances, they would be much different from Kushina's. While Kushina's was a golden yellow, Naruto's was a bright fiery orange, the colors of his chains, almost the unionization of his lineage, being the son of the red hot habanero and of the yellow flash of the hidden leaf. As a result, you would get a color of orange, as Naruto would put it, the hidden leaf's orange Hokage. As in the original, Naruto would gain the power of the Nine Tails in terms of gaining KCM-1, and on top of that, he would also have his abilities with using the chakra chains. They would be strong and dense, capable of binding and holding things in place, as seen when he was sparring against Killer Bee. This version of Naruto had taken to using the sword, and as a result, while it was only brief, he was able to pick up some sword lessons from the master of the 8 blades. And even more so, when Killer Bee attempted to use one of the 8 Tails' tentacles, Naruto would use his chains to bind the tentacles and hold it in place. And Bee would remark that the chains were pretty strong to bind one of his arms like that. Of course, as in the original, the events of the Turtle Island would play out much to the same. That being with the Akatsuki learning the location of Yamato and kidnapping him to use for their own ends with the White Zetsu clone army, and with Guy setting off not too long after. However, Kisame would be defeated and would choose to end his own life via suicide, and, as a result, Killer Bee would gain the sword Samehada for himself. However, with now someone that Naruto knew being taken away by the enemy, and with Naruto having gained this newfound power, he believed that it was only right that he join the battlefield. He didn't want to stay on the sidelines any longer than he needed to, not when he knew that there was something that he could do. As a result, Naruto, Karin, and Bee would make their way and escape from the barrier around Turtle Island, before making their way off to the battlefield. But what was happening on these battlefields, so to speak? How was the Fourth Great Ninja War progressing? Well, the captains of the various divisions would be the same as before, although there would be a difference for some. First, in the first division, Darui of the Hidden Cloud would be the commander, with Kitsuri from the Hidden Stone being the second division captain. However, a change in our story occurs with the third division. Originally, Kakashi would be the captain of this unit. However, instead, Jiraiya would be the captain, as he was older and more experienced, and Kakashi thought that it would be better if he lead. But Kakashi was Jiraiya's second in command, as Jiraiya trusted Kakashi's power and his instinct. Among the other members of the 3rd Division would include Might Guy, Rock Lee, as well as Dosu and Sakura. Kakashi taking a liking to Sakura, although this version of Sakura isn't like the one that you would remember. She never trained under Tsunade, but instead, she was a member of Team Kurenai. As a result, Sakura flourished in her genjutsu ability, and she had also picked up learning some sealing ninjutsu as well, on top of her genjutsu techniques, which had exceeded many expectations. And Dosu had also gotten stronger as well in the meantime. Gaara would still lead the 4th Division, with Temari and with Shikamaru as his second-hand man. However, along with Shikamaru would be all members of Team Asuma, remembering that in this line of events, Asuma never died in his fight against Kakuzu and Hidan. As a result, he would still be alive and capable of fighting in the war, and all of Team Asuma would be grouped together in the 4th Division. The 5th Division would be led by Mifune of the Samurai clan, and the medical unit would be led by Shizune with her assistant Hanabi Hyuga, the student of Lady Tsunade, the 5th Hokage. Other than that, the main units would play out the same, although when it came to the guarding party for the feudal lords of the all 5 great nations, it wouldn't just be Mei and Chojuro, but Suigetsu would be with them as well. Following their ambush and assassination of Danzo, Suigetsu was extradited back to the Hidden Mist, along with him taking the Executioner's Blade. In order to gain his pardon, he agreed to fight in the war, and thus, Chojuro and Suigetsu would be reunited once again, 2 members of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist, working together once more. Of course, the battles between the White Zetsu and between the Edo Tensei would rage on, and they would definitely be intense, with a few battles being changed and turned around. Our major battles would take place with the 3rd Division, as Jiraiya would find himself engaged against an old adversary, an enemy that he lost to during the events of the 2nd Great Ninja War, Hanzo the Salamander. When Hanzo was revived with Edo Tensei, he couldn't believe that he had been brought back into the world of the living, and he didn't take too kindly to being used as someone's plaything. However, despite his protest, the Edo Tensei made it impossible for him to fight against its power and influence. The only thing he could do was carry out his commands. However, one pleasant surprise, that being on the battlefield, was him coming face to face with a perfect Sage Mode Jiraiya. So, one of the legendary Sannin, Hanzo. So, you've rejoined the world of the living, have you? It seems so. The cursed jutsu of the 2nd Hokage is at work. I detest you Hidden Leaf Shinobi greatly, but still, I am excited to see that you have survived and last for this long, down to the time of the 4th Great War, Jiraiya of the Sannin. Do tell, what happened to your other 2 partners? Tsunade has become the 5th Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves. And as for Orochimaru, he sadly lost his life not too long ago. I see. It is unfortunate. I was hoping that I might get a chance to face all 3 of you once again. Oh, no need to worry, Hanzo. I'm more than enough. I'm not the same young punk you met all those years ago. I've grown since then. I see. You've even gained the power of a sage. Well, show me what you're capable of. Hanzo and Jiraiya would engage in an epic clash, a fight that reminisced that of older times. Jiraiya being very familiar with the jutsu he faced against Hanzo once before. Jutsu that he couldn't overcome now seemed to be a thing of the past. And Hanzo, even for an Edo Tensei, could feel the power behind Jiraiya's punches. He was definitely not the same young shinobi that he had humbled in the Hidden Rain during the events of the 2nd Great Ninja War. He had truly grown and become fully fledged as a shinobi. However, this was not the only battle taking place, as Kakashi, with the help from Lee, would find himself engaged with Haku and Zabuza once again. Of course, Zabuza wasn't too kind to the idea of being used like this. However, he was happy to hear that the 3 young shinobi that he fought back during the time of the Land of Waves had grown greatly as ninja. and that Naruto had even made the rank of Chunin and was known as a hero. It seemed as though he had kept his promise to look after that girl as well, who had also grown in her own, being a student of the 5th Hokage. And then, as for Dosu, he would find himself in a fight of high emotion, as there were 2 Edo Tensei shinobi, 2 in particular that he hadn't seen in over 3 years. It was none other than Ken and Zaku. To say that Dosu's emotions were running high would be an understatement. Seeing the faces of his 2 comrades, it almost got to a point where Dosu couldn't focus, as he was actually moved to tears. Come on now, Dosu. You're not one to cry. Yeah, our leader would never be something like that. You idiots. I never thought I'd get to... We know. It's okay. It's not Orochimaru, Yeah. He used us, turned us into some zombie puppets, and then we were cast aside. To be honest, we were shocked when you didn't show up in the other world without... We assumed that maybe something terrible had happened and you lost your way. But the fact that you're still alive, well, it says a lot. It means that you've been able to survive for this long. And that wasn't by mistake. But still, we were all each other had. And honestly, I don't know what... In the midst of their fighting, with aid from Sakura, she would help using her genjutsu, being able to capture the 2 of them inside of her dark domain. With the aid of inner Sakura, she was able to bind and hold them in place until the sealing corpse could wrap them up and seal them away. However, before the seal was complete, Dosu was given a moment to speak to his 2 former teammates. A chance to say things that were left unsaid. For Dosu, this was his chance to gain closure. Much needed closure. Both Ken and Zaku would assure him that they held no ill will. In fact, seeing that their old friend was still alive and well made them happy. They all knew what it was like to grow up with nothing. All 3 of them grew up poor, orphan, alone. From the beginning, they had nothing in this world, and it seemed as though the world was going to write them off as such. But Dosu had managed to carve out something for himself. He was a shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. He had become powerful. He made friends. And even now, he had grown far more than he could have ever been. And what was most important was that he didn't throw his life away. He didn't throw his life away trying to go after some petty vengeance. He was able to make peace and live. And as friends, what more could you want? As they were finally sealed off, Dosu heard their voices as they told him to live a long and prosperous life, and that he better not think about joining them anytime soon, because when his time finally came, he better have a long story to tell them. Even under Dosu's rapt face, with his single eye showing, he closed it as a tear ran down his cheek. He promised that when his time came, he'd have a bunch of stories to tell them. As the battle had concluded, Sakura would stand beside Dosu, grabbing his hand and pulling him close. It was a sign of assurance. She couldn't think of what to say, but the gesture was more than enough. And the two carried on as they continued into the night of the Fourth Great Ninja War. In the meantime, Naruto and Bee would be making their way to the battlefield. After a brief skirmish with Tsunade and the Raikage, Naruto proving that his power could be an asset, and that he was more than strong enough to hold his own, Naruto would be let to join into the battlefield. Of course, things did not always go as easily as one might plan, as when Naruto and Killer Bee were making their way, they ran into two familiar faces, for Naruto at least, that being of Itachi Uchiha and Nagato Uzumaki. You could say that the family reunions just kept growing more and more. Karin actually meeting another Uzumaki, and one that had the Rinnegan of all things. Of course, the reunion was short-lived, as even though Nagato would have loved to talk to Naruto and to another Uzumaki, he was being controlled by Edo Tensei and was sadly being forced to kill them, and the two had to fight them off for as long as they could. However, surprisingly, by a stroke of luck, the crow that Itachi had placed inside of Naruto, the crow that contained Shishui's Koto Amatsukami, the jutsu that would have been used to turn Sasuke and get him back on track, had ended up being used on himself, as a result freeing him from Edo Tensei's control and allowing him to help in defeating and sealing away Nagato with the Tosca blade of his Susanoo. Of course, once Nagato was defeated, Itachi knew immediately what he had to do. He had to find Kabuto, undo the Edo Tensei, and help the allied shinobi forces, his last act as a shinobi. Karin was asked to go with him, wanting to get to know more about Itachi, since she had heard so much, and she knew that Sasuke cared about him a great deal. However, Itachi would deny her request, knowing that she would be needed on another part of the battlefield. However, he would stop and poke her on the forehead, as he smiled kindly and thanked her, and he asked if she would continue to watch after his little brother, and he asked for Naruto to do the same, as he would leave Sasuke in his hands. Naruto would promise. After all, Sasuke was a member of Team 7, and both he and Hanabi had both agreed that they were going to bring Sasuke back together, no matter what. With that, Itachi would set off to find the wielder of the Edo Tensei and to put a stop to his plans. In the meantime, Naruto, Killer Bee, and Karin would set their sights on the battlefield of the Fourth Great Ninja War. As the battle raged into Day 2, the forces were moving and taking their place, as now the next stage had finally begun. This concludes Naruto Polaris Shippuden, What If Hanabi Hyuga Was Born First, Part 19. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we go into the final part of Naruto Tale of Two Sages. What if Naruto was Luis's familiar? Part 16. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.